This data that just came out of Litmus less than 24 hours ago has been looking at about potentially about 800 billion email sends over the course of the last decade. And what you will see here is that on a per campaign level, we are seeing email engagement go down by about 15%. So the question for us as marketers is, how do we buck this trend? How do we build email that is actually engaged with, I should say, in a post-iOS 15 world? And I'm going to suggest this framework: deliver, engage, and grow. Why? Because if we don't start with delivery and not actually getting into the inbox, everything you do from a design perspective, from a personalization perspective, is all for naught if you don't actually get into the inbox. And when we're seeing increasing amounts of mail actually not making it to the right folder, we need to know how to best make sure we actually get into the inbox. So we'll start there. Then we'll get into engage, because once we're delivered, it's about how do we go about engaging with that subscriber, from name all the way through the design of that campaign. And we'll wrap up with growth, because if we are if we are delivering, then engaging with those subscribers, we should be able to put some fuel on the fire, if you will, and try and grow our subscription lists. So let's start here with delivery. This is this idea of how we maximize our path to the inbox. There are two cornerstone ways that we can try and almost guarantee our path into that inbox, and it starts with authentication. Authentication is your gateway into the inbox. And if you're wondering how authentication plays a role in this process, this is a basic gist of how every email campaign gets into the inbox. You as the sender in step one send that email into the interwebs. It hits what's called an inbound mail server. And right at step three, this is where your authentication protocols come into place. It is a straight pass or fail. There is no gray area here. There are 4 key characteristics of authentication. They start here. At a minimum, having an SPF record. By the way, all of these authentication protocols are just text strings that go on your DNS record. But the gold standard for deliverability authentication protocol is this one, the SPF record or sender policy framework. The next one is this one, DKIM, or domain keys identified mail. Those are the 2 at a minimum, regardless if you're just starting your business or whether you're an enterprise-sized organization. Those are at a minimum the 2 authentication protocols you have to have in place to get past those authentication gateways within an inbound mail server. The second part of making sure your deliverability is as high as possible is being as engaged a subscriber, or should I say, creating content that is engaged with for your subscribers. And just keep in mind, let's go back to this graphic for a second. Right after authentication, all of the ISPs, the Googles, the Outlooks, the Barracudas of the world, everything that they're doing is measuring the behavior of your campaigns at the individual subscriber level. And it may surprise you what they're actually tracking. The first thing that you should know is that opens and clicks for all the major ISPs, the Googles, the Barracudas, the Yahoos of the world, Verizons, they view this as not a clear signal of engagement. They don't care. This is part of the reason why iOS 15 isn't as dramatic a shift as everybody should think it is, because those ISPs have not been tracking opens for years. They do not view as an open and a click as a less relevant metric. The things that they look at are 2 key signals, the first of which is this: replies are super important. They see that as a super strong signal of engagement. The second thing that they see as a super strong signal of engagement is this: anytime somebody folders or moves a message either manually or through a trigger, that is another positive indicator of engagement. This can be helpful for us as marketers to understand, hey, how do we design campaigns so that our individual subscriber scores are going up? So let's talk about how we do that, because that's the next part of this framework, which is engage. How you show up in the inbox matters. Now, by any stretch of imagination, this is not an exhaustive list of recommendations. The ones that I'm going to tell you are ones that I see repeatedly not done well in the inbox day in and day out. So we'll start here. First things first, it is always specific and consistent. What I mean by that is that you deliver on the value proposition that you say you're going to do every single time. If you say, hey, this is what we're going to put into your inbox, do it on a consistent basis. It needs to be specific and consistent so it's delivered on that cadence when you've promised it.